Hi, welcome to another episode of Conversations in the Void. Tonight we will be speaking with a musician with a strong foundation in various genres who is currently creating a lush landscape for listeners of new music. She studied contemporary music at the College of Santa Fe, where her focus was vocal performance. She developed her current project while living in San Francisco and is currently living, working, and touring out of North Texas. Lily Taylor, thank you for being with us tonight. Now, I want to jump in and talk about your aesthetic. Now, I know that you draw from a lot of different points of view when it comes to music. How do you know that you've arrived at your aesthetic in the writing process or in the studio?
Well, it depends. It depends on what I'm working on. A lot of times I've been working in the studio for a while. I've been crafting something with my looping pedal and different textures of sound with my keyboard or maybe another instrument in my studio, and I kind of let it tell me where I'm going with it. And I don't really feel like those songs are ever finished. I mean, they are once you record it, because that's a version of it that you get, but for me, even when I'm performing those songs live, they change, they morph depending on what audience I'm performing to or what the venue's like or how my equipment is responding to the house system. You know, if it's not working with all the reverb that I use, I have to tone it back, I have to deliver it differently. So I'm letting it tell me.
Do you find, do you have discoveries about what your music can be in those moments?
Yeah.
And so what would you say at this point in your development of your music? What is your aesthetic? How do you describe it to yourself or to?
It's so difficult. Honesty or truth or something, but you can't really put that in a press release. People aren't going to understand what you're talking about. I mean, I always say like avant pop, because it's avant-garde, but it's accessible, like pop music. Indie experimental, you know, but these are just labels that I'm using to help convey a gist, you know, because you really need to just come to the show or buy the album. Right? Yeah, and listen to it and see for yourself.
So when you perform, you employ a lot of different elements of performance, from the makeup that you wear, or the headdresses, or the video art. How did you develop this performance, and what does it speak to your narrative?
Well, I had been working as a performer in San Francisco and working at a theater called Counterpulse, and through connections there ended up being booked at Something at the Stud, which is a weekly review, a drag review. And Vivian Forevermore and David Glamour were very supportive in booking me for this, because I wasn't doing what you would think of as like a drag performance. I was actually singing rather than lip syncing, and but I thought I'd play it up with the makeup, and I'd wear a headdress. It's kind of an homage to my jazz lineage of singing at a lot of burlesque shows, a lot of burlesque dancers wearing headdresses. And so that kind of became my shtick. And when I moved to Texas, my husband had an educational opportunity, so we moved to Denton, and then later to Dallas. And I just thought this would be a great way to present something really more theatrical. I had been just gigging as myself, and this is me, and this is what I wore today, and I'm just getting up there with my music equipment. But it seemed really fun to present something special, and also to work with Sean Miller, my husband, who does the video art projections, and see just how we could use that to our advantage and get more theater-style bookings rather than club bookings, or play in a gallery, like we played at the Oliver Francis Gallery and took over a whole wall rather than having like curtains behind us, behind me. And it was great. It worked. People loved it, and I got a lot of further gigs because of that.
Do you see yourself taking it a step further at some point? Are there things that you've been wanting to attempt or to try to add to that performance?
Sure. You know, and then you get the booking and it's crunch time and it's an hour before the show and you forgot to call your backup dancers or whatever. Yeah, I'd love to implement more theatrics to it, but it would depend on what kind of venue, really. How much room we would have, how much time we'd have in a night.
Absolutely. But you definitely have a strong audience base. So it would be interesting to see how that relationship can continue to grow between the music and the audience. I want to talk a little bit about your most recent album. It arrived in February, March. Can you kind of walk through what the process was of finding a place to record and figuring out what to produce and how you see it now?
Yeah. I was living in Denton on Facebook, and there was an opening for a band at Crown and Harp, which is a venue here in Dallas. And I responded like, me, you should book me. And they said, no, you're all wrong for this gig. But next week, we have this great kind of synthy pop lineup, and you should come down and you'll be the opener.
Perfect.
Stick you on the bill. And that's how I met Sean French and Marjorie Owens of Pour Liqueur Records. And they just liked what I was doing. And it was kind of like that magic story that you think is not going to happen, but it really happened. I met them at a bar, and they said they wanted to record me. And I thought they were full of beans, but I followed up with them and started to get to know them, and we began recording, and it just fell into place. Sean French was really able to get this like warm sound that I had been looking for, and in a lot of the studios that I had been in and working in for other projects, everything was just so clinical sounding, or that like real sugar pop sound, that was not what I was going for. So it was really just fated that I met these people, and they were willing to help me. And that's Marjorie great. Owens did the artwork, which is amazing. And we had it locally pressed at A&R on Riverfront. So every single vinyl is a different color. It was hand poured and made with exquisite love. Stan, shout out to Stan. There's like 3 times more demand for vinyl right now than there ever has been before. So we had a little bit of a delayed process with that, but
it's a great problem to have of having demand.
Yeah, it is. So, but yeah, once it was all said and done, I just couldn't be more pleased about it. It sounds better than I had imagined. I really captured something that I was going for that I had a really hard time describing.
What were some of the discoveries you made listening to that album after it was done, in terms of what it is that you can make and what it is that you're wanting to do?
Well, I had performed the songs for so long, so to be able to kind of lay them to rest a little bit, like as a final version, there was a sense of relief in that.
Right.
Like, okay, I've been working so hard for this, and it's finally happening. And a major sense of accomplishment that just this had been a goal for so long.
Right.
But I really just couldn't be more pleased with how all of the details fell into place.
And what does the timeline look like in terms of writing more material, in terms of producing a new full length?
It'll be a while.
Right.
I work slowly.
That's fine.
Yeah. I can already tell people, we're like, what's next? What's the next project? And I have some ideas, and I'm working on some songs right now. I've actually got a songwriting workshop going up with Karina Denike, who's a collaborator I work with in San Francisco. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of going to let it tell me. So,
well, we'll be putting a lot of your information in the details below, the description below, as well as Pour Liqueur music. Be looking for Lili Taylor music. Her shows this fall, and we're excited to see when the next full lengths come out. We're excited to see what you have for all of us. Tonight we've had Lili Taylor. I've been Justin Locklear, and this has been Conversations in the Void. Thank you very much.